Here are 2 reasons why we should never trust our government or doctors for our own medical decisions, for our own health decisions. Here's a disclaimer. Now, I'm not saying all doctors are bad, I'm not saying all doctors fall under this umbrella, but most of the physicians here in America are limited by the resources they were taught. And those institutions are controlled by the pharmaceutical industry, which is a very massive industry, billions of dollars, which fund these institutions, then teach doctors to prescribe these prescriptions, therefore recreating wealth for the pharmaceutical companies. Not for your benefit, but for theirs. So a lot of their knowledge is rooted in partial truths. Is it their fault? Certainly not. But anyone with a mind that is willing to question and willing to test what they are told or taught to believe, if there's something that doesn't feel right or something that sounds funny, and then they search and seek and find that that was in fact a weird thing to say because it wasn't true, those are my kind of people, and this message is for you. Have you heard of Ancel Keys? Are you familiar with Ancel Keys? Or maybe are you familiar with K-rations? So this one doctor ruined the integrity of all medicine. This doctor collaborated with the AHA, which is the American Heart Association, in deceiving millions of people, into deceiving people into taking trans fats, saying that those are better for you than saturated fats from animals, claiming that saturated fats increased your LDLs, causing therefore blockage, heart attack, and heart disease. But they skewed the statistics, and they plastered him on the face like an advertisement for a prescription and this methodology just because he was simply a doctor. Not an MD, not even a DO, but a PhD. And no, not even a lipid scientist. He studied eels in the ocean. Now you're probably wondering, why am I sitting on this bridge? Well, like all things in life that stand the test of time and that last forever, have a good and strong, solid foundation. This bridge was built in 1931. It's now 2024, and it's still standing, still intact. Original walls here, original bridge. The only thing that's different is the pavement on top or the cement on top. This was built on a strong foundation. And here I'm saying, if you don't have a strong foundation of understanding in your health choices, then you're more than likely going to take a decision or make a decision and make a choice that will actually inherently cause more health deficits than eliminating them by only trusting what you're told to believe instead of questioning. Now, every good doctor wants to be questioned. Why? Because they want to make sure their patients understand what they are saying. So a good physician, a good doctor, will open the door for questions and allow open conversation. Any doctor that's limited or any doctor that doesn't want to talk about a particular thing should be a huge red flag, an indicator that for one, they may not know, or for two, they're trying to cover up what they're doing and why. Anyway, apart from that, we have been told to believe doctors, and we were told to believe the American Heart Association as a good entity because why? They're trusted. They're funded to deliver good things to the people, right? They're supposed to protect us from congestive heart failure or heart attack even, which is still the leading cause of death to this very day. Not only here in America, but across the world. But we should trust the American Heart Association, right? And we should trust Dr. Ancel Keys. But who in fact is Dr. Ancel Keys? I thought you'd never ask. Well, I'll tell you what Ancel Keys is not. He is not a doctor. He's not an MD. He's not a DO. But he is a PhD. And yes, that is a pretty hard and rigorous process to become a PhD, especially during the 1930s. He studied saltwater eels. Saltwater eels. Probably wondering, what does that have to do with the human body and the heart? That's a very good question. Nothing. It has nothing to do with the heart or the diet of what is conducive to a healthy heart. Why would they ask him to promote such a thing, such as saturated fat being bad for our bodies? Why would they do that? Is it because he was a doctor and he was looking for money and he was trying to find a way to get rich and wealthy and establish wealth for a long time, and he thought, why not make friends with other rich, wealthy people and just get really rich, right? At the cost of nothing? Oh, certainly not. Or was he just like, you know what? I want to make this world healthier. I want to make people live longer. I want to establish that people do the right thing to their body. I don't think so. I do believe that he was under the umbrella that he knew what he was doing and he didn't care. Okay, I'm talking too much. Let's get with the AHA. You're probably wondering, how did Ancel Keys get a relationship with the American Heart Association? And what was their interest in having a mutual relationship? Well, he was very smart, very well educated, so he was able to catch the eyes of those who are leading our country. And the American Heart Association was looking for somebody to help them establish a standard, a way of living, something that they claimed was better for us than what we already knew. All right, so let's back up. K-rations. Only those in the military or affiliated with the military understand what a K-ration is. Do you know what the K in K-ration stands for? Keys. Ancel Keys actually helped create K-rations. And you're probably wondering, what's the point? So he created a food product that would have a shelf life of 4 years and that could feed millions of people, millions of soldiers at once. You're like, okay, well, why is that bad? Well, when you create something that's stable for a long time, food stable, something that won't expire for a long period of time, there's usually something bad with that. Think about it. You take a flower out of the ground. What happens? It dies. You take a fruit or vegetable off a tree. What happens? In a short period of time, it's fully dead. It rots. It decomposes. Same with our bodies. When our heart stops beating, we also decompose. It's a natural thing. So when a food source doesn't expire for 4 years, how could that possibly be good for us? Okay, here is a graph of all the 7-country. There was a 7-country study, and Ancel Keys used 7 countries to showcase a correlation between high consumption of saturated fats with a problem with heart attacks. So that was his correlation, that was his belief. And then he showed that using graphs and data and statistics to analyze and show. But what he wasn't showing were those graphs were actually skewed, and the data was actually in fact the opposite of what he was saying. You're probably wondering, what do I mean by that? What he was showing was the data for the very thing that he was pushing for, which was stop eating saturated fats and start eating margarine and trans fats, things that are low in saturated fats, because that, again, was creating a problem with health, right? His theory was you reduce saturated fat, you decrease cholesterol as well, because cholesterol causes blockages and heart attacks, and that was his theory, right? Emphasis on theory is a far-fetched one at that. There's plenty of data to indicate that that's so untrue. And he took data from countries that were eating high amounts of trans fats already and eliminating the countries that were eating good fats, such as France and other parts of the world. Now, the French aren't known for being overweight, not once in history were they ever known. Maybe a few people, sure, absolutely. But collectively, they're pretty fit. Why would they eliminate the French diet from our understanding? Okay, so Ancel Keys had facts for up to 22 different countries, but he only chose 7, and really only 6 of those he really showcased, because he really wanted to narrow it. He really wanted to sell this concept of saturated fats causing heart attacks and heart disease, heart failure, things of that sort. He wanted to make that correlation so bad, and he did wonderfully, but he skewed the statistics. Now, I said there's 22 countries that were tested for all the same data, right? But he cherry-picked. Why? To confuse the general public. Now, who would have thought that a doctor would come on national public broadcast and announce to the whole world, showing these data points and statistics, that this is the cause of heart disease and we need to stop it. Your cholesterol is killing you, and it's coming from saturated fats from animals that you need to stop consuming. The American Heart Association was all about it. And that's why when you see that badge on every little food group or any food product, you should ask yourself, is this really a good product? My only suggestion for you would be this: check the ingredients, look at what's actually in there, and be on the lookout for any fats that are really unhealthy, such as vegetable oil, which I've mentioned many times. So here's the recap here. Do not trust the AHA or any of its products. First, look at the label and make sure that what is in there is of good quality and good standard, meaning no vegetable oil. Beware of the ingredients label. It's more than likely a bad product. Number 2, question all things, especially what you're told to believe. Use a little bit of discernment and have a curious mind to not be afraid to question what you're told to believe, especially if something inside you, such as your gut, is telling you, hold on, this doesn't make sense. Look into it and find out why. Number 3, the most important thing here, saturated fat is not the enemy. Saturated fat from vegetable oils is the enemy. Saturated fat from animal fats has proven not to be an enemy of our bodies, but in fact to be very good. I mean, saturated fat makes up most of our brain and all of our connective tissue. There's a little bit of saturated fat that is needed. And it's also very good for metabolism. So keeping you lean, keeping you healthy. And guess what? Keeping your heart healthy. So Ancel Keys, be on the lookout for the guy. He's no longer around, but his theory is still published and glorified. That is not very good for us, because guess what? Heart attacks and heart disease are still the number 1 cause in America and in the entire world. And guess what? It's because of their very information they've shared with us. It's all trash. Hate to say it. Hate to break your heart. Don't trust anybody. Question everything. And then you'll see, okay, I could trust some people. But the thing is, always question what you're taught to believe. If someone is coming at you with some information that doesn't make sense, question it. Find out why. Anyways, that's all. If you find this video valuable, be sure to subscribe, like, comment, and share down below. And I'll see you on the next one. We got plenty of controversial videos and content coming your way, and they're very useful as far as something that you could benefit from, both for yourself and for the ones you love. So be sure to share this with someone, and whatever it is you do, do it with love. See you on the next one.